Last time on the breakdown, we broke down a hand from the PCA from yonder year of 2007 featuring Ike Haxton and Ryan Doubt. It occurred outdoors. There was lots of wind. It was a really cool hand, and we broke it all the way down. Click up here and then come back if you want to see that hand before you check out the comments. These are your comments from that hand.
Indeed they are. Now, two things for you to know. Number one, Ike Haxton, Bluff re-raised all in on the river, just in case you didn't remember that. So that's important. It plays into some of these comments. And second of all, we have always done this where we just do the same comments here that we do on our podcast. You comment, we respond, but no more. We've ended that. Now, from now on, we have 3 comments on there and 3 comments on here, and they're different.
3 comments.
3 comments.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a New Yorker. It's fine.
Yeah. So if your comment wasn't on here, maybe it's on the podcast. Check it out. It's down there.
We know if it is or not, but there's only one way for you to find out.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into it, shall we? Michael says, could you guys explain a bit about what you mean when you say there's a difference between how people played in 2007 versus now? I understand leveling concerns between top players, but I think there's more to that kind of a statement than just leveling.
Okay,
2007 versus now.
Okay, I don't really understand the end of that question that well, but the difference. Okay, go ahead.
He's saying, he's just saying, is it just about leveling or is it more than that? And I think it's definitely more.
It's definitely more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, now there's combinatorics that people weren't really using at all in 2007, I would assume.
For the most part.
There's just more range construction in general, and people play a lot more pot control now. Back then, it was kind of a shootout.
Yeah, I feel like back then it was much more, I don't really know what you have, and I think I have something that's probably good. Here we go.
Yeah.
And that really isn't the case anymore nowadays. Like Grant's saying, with range construction specifically and pot control, it makes it much easier to have a sense of what your opponent has. You can start to figure it out. And we see sometimes some mistake folds and sometimes some great folds as a result.
Right, and people also construct their own ranges for certain actions now. They might have certain polar ranges and certain non-polar ranges. They didn't really do that back then.
No. Also, I would say the c-betting percentage back then was something like 95% for the quote good players, or even non-quote good players. And now it's much, much lower. The best players in the world don't c-bet anywhere near 95%.
Right. And I also think there were a lot more what we like to call FU players back then.
Yeah.
Players who were just like, nah, you don't win. I win. You can't win. I get to win this hand. I'm going to raise you.
So like a semi-Farhad type thing.
Yeah.
I'll show you.
And now is a much more kind of logic-based, analytical, math-based stuff, which was around then, but now it's kind of more taken over.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
All right.
Ainsley says, if you guys watch the YouTube video on the story of Ike, you can hear him talking about the hand. Loved his comment that when he lowered his head, he said he was mourning those chips and then started thinking that his opponent must be bluffing with that run out.
Okay. So,
I actually watched this video after reading this comment. I watched the clip of it. And Ike basically says something like that where he thought, there's just not that many hands he can have for value. I don't know what he can have here. But I got to tell you, I can think of some hands.
all the queens.
All the queens, which Ryan has played. The story is perfect to have trip queens here. So this feels like a 2007 kind of move-in, not for Ike, not necessarily a 2016 kind of move-in, is my guess.
Right. I mean, we didn't say the move-in was bad necessarily, but it was a bit reckless because Ryan certainly could have a queen, and Ryan's not going to raise fold a queen on the river, we hope.
No, there's no way.
Yeah, so it does make sense for Ryan to have a queen. We agree Ryan doesn't usually have a straight or a full house. Pretty much never a full house.
No.
So there's that. Ike's range is slightly stronger than Ryan's. It's just a really high variance play.
It is, and Ryan gets to see that Ike bet and then raise. So you figure it isn't like Ryan's just taking a stab on the river. He's raising the river. So he's more polarized and the value is only queens, but it's all the queens.
Yeah.
So yeah, he can do that.
Yeah,
all right.
he can.
Finally, Glenn Terrace says, I have nothing intelligent to say. No, there's more.
That's a great way to start a comment.
We love it.
Yeah.
Other than to share with you that I lost a lot of equity in 07-08 trying to be like Isaac with Hero, River, 4-bet, all-in bluffs. Sad face.
That's a pretty great comment as far as how we perceive this hand because, as you know and we know, Ike Haxton is among the best players in the world. He's a great player, and back then he was certainly a forward-thinking player and had a beat on the game that other guys didn't. But this play does seem, like I said, a bit reckless, and that's what this guy's describing.
Also, saying he had a beat on the game instead of like a read on the game is interesting. Like a beat like a shooting?
Yeah, like like it's a small target, how to play well, and Ike was like good at, he was like aiming at it at least. Maybe he hadn't hit it yet, but he was getting close.
You know what? I thought he misspoke. I may have been wrong.
Never doubt Grant.
I may have been right. But yeah, I think this is a cool comment because this is something that happened a lot in World Poker Tour shows especially.
Oh, there was a lot of like, ooh, I'm going to get you.
Well, not just that, but people would watch TV and see the six-handed play, and so they're watching a six-max game.
Right.
And Mike would always be saying, I can't believe he didn't raise an ace there. And
Yeah.
the kinds of hands people would be playing would be much wider ranges than in a full game. But people didn't make that, association or understand that. And so people played much worse for a long, long time, I think, after watching WPT, which is kind of interesting.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're done here.
I think we're done.
We'll see you on the podcast. You comment, we respond. Different comments, different responses, same fans.